These are called pitch keys. I'm going to explain how they work, how I use them, and whether or not it might be right for you. So here we go. Just file this video under Kirby made this purchase so that you don't have to. Never thought lapel mics would cause me more issue than all of the other expensive audio equipment I own that requires a barrier of entry to understand, but here we are. So, got a lapel mic working. I wanted to talk about this particular piece of gear that I use on my main guitars at this point. That it's right at $35 a pop, and it doesn't require an invasive installation on your instruments, which mattered to me. I waver a lot with my preferences for setup, and there's certain things that stay the same, but I do like to have flexibility. Let's say I need to adjust my action for a project I'm doing, like, you know, if I'm transcribing for Jerry Douglas or something like that, and I need to fake having a dobro. I like having removable attachments that I can put on my guitar. There's a couple things kind of in that vein in the guitar world that are nifty little purchases that, you know, I feel like sometimes we're on the fence about it. NAMM and the Czech Convention were some of the first bigger gigs that I've played with this. I've done hotel gigs around town and things like that, but a lot of people haven't seen me with this instrument yet, so I had a lot of people asking me questions about it. But one of the things people ask the most questions about, which I get this online as well, is what are these? I don't really know how to explain what they are. So if you've ever seen that viral video of this guy named Alexander Mishko playing Careless Whisper, and he's doing all kind of percussion and tapping up here, and then he goes up and it is like changing the melody by changing the tuning knobs. That's one option for like a drop tuner. So that's technically what this tool would be considered as a drop tuner. And it's a popular thing, I think, with banjo playing as well. Probably in some of the Earl Scruggs repertoire, you see that use of a drop tuner that is programmed to drop a whole step up or down. This does that. The pitch keys do that, and you can calibrate them to drop as much or as little as you need them to so that you're dropping pitch precisely for certain altered tunings. So that's the function of it. But what I think is really interesting about it is that it's completely non-invasive, especially if you have kind of legacy instruments that you want to grow old with. I think minimal invasive procedures is probably one of the best ways to preserve the life of the instrument. And so anywhere that I can opt for minimally invasive ways of getting the sound that I need, I try to go for that. So this is one way that I've accomplished that, is through installing these. So the way they work is that it's like this little screw that is riding on a circular ramp, like a spiral staircase, but it's a ramp. The base of the pitch key is actually, it's like a little chameleon hand on either side, and like one of the hands has a leg attached to it that functions as kind of a kickstand. And so what that does is it straddles the string that you're interested in changing the pitch of, and then it grabs onto the string beside it for its leverage. So that's how you're able to have it installed on a guitar without it involving drilling into the headstock, is that it's tethering on two different strings at once, but then on the first string that it's tethered onto, it has, I don't know, like a top hat shaped, I don't know what you'd call that. I'm not a mechanical engineer, but it's got this little lever that catches the string. So there's the little chameleon hand type things, and then there's a little hook type deal that grabs the string and pulls it up or releases it. And what that does is, disengaged, you have the lowest pitch that you would tune that string to, and then engaged, you have it to the highest string that you would have that pitch tuned to. So it's kind of counterintuitive when you're thinking about it with the instrument in your hand and, you know, using it at a gig, but it's one of those things that it's kind of a small purchase, but I like it because where I am right now with my guitar playing is that I've always kind of used altered tunings, and at a gig, it's, financially speaking, you save a lot of money being able to show up with one instrument because you're not paying fees on airlines, or you're not loading up your car so much, you're not wearing your back down, carrying so much gear in with you. So the pitch keys really allow me the freedom to kind of show up with one guitar and have so many more tunings available to me. And I take less time in between songs so that I can focus more on interacting with the audience or on playing what I want to play. I'm spending less time fighting with the tuning on my instrument. You know, it's got a set measure of, you know, this is the string gauge. This is how much tension is on this particular string, and you can calibrate through that little screw that rides up the ramp on the pitch key, how much it needs to rise or fall, and it stays in place quite well. So it allows you to go from, so like right now I'm in drop D tuning. So I have the pitch key that's on my 6th string is disengaged to the lowest tuning right now. If I want to engage it, that takes me to standard tuning. Sometimes it requires a little bit of stretching, but I feel like that's pretty spot on. You know, these strings are dead right now, and it still has really good intonation in spite of that. And then if I want to go back to drop D, it's perfect, you know. So I'm really impressed with these. If they're both engaged, you get standard tuning. Standard tuning, so we've got that. Drop that down, you've got drop D. Sometimes you have to do that. There it is. Still better than having to go there and manually do it. So I'm showing you the ugly side of it too, which still isn't that ugly. And then you get up here. What is it? So yeah, now I'm in. And it's, you can tell when the guitar is more in tune with itself because it kind of milks its own sympathetic overtones and you get more sustain out of it. And I feel that it's kind of reviving its own sustain in that way because it's that well in tune up the neck. So So I feel like it's reliable enough that, you know, if I'm playing a gig and I'm thinking like, you know, if I'm playing a gig and I just get a wild hair that, hey, I want to go to this tuning right now, or I want to do this song, that matches with the mood that I'm conveying for the audience at the moment. So I have the flexibility to think like an artist. What I've noticed as well is that like you can use them on the high strings. So there's not like a tension imbalance. They're not hard enough to pop the strings, you know what I mean? Because, you know, sometimes if you have rough edges between where the string stops and where the string starts, if there's a rough edge somewhere, sometimes that'll pop your string. I've never had that happen with these. So I do want to throw that out there, that they're pretty reliable in that sense. They have pretty even tension even up here, and they work on electric. Like I mentioned before, we're in drop D. If I do this, see, it was up there, and I just turned it this way. And let me show you kind of from this angle, if I can. Like when they're disengaged, the string is straight, and then when I engage it, you see it's got a little bit of a bend in it now. So that's, on this string, I've got it engaged to E right now. If I disengage it, it goes back to that drop tuning. So that's how it works. So like right now, I want to be in G6 with D in the bass tuning. And what that means for me as a guitar player is you go from standard tuning to taking the 6th string down 2 frets and taking the 5th string down 2 frets. And so you have an octave right there and an octave right there. Now to my ear, that's a little bit off, but what I would typically do to fix that You know, I would retune if I had a capable one, just because that's another level of complexity added, but that's still a little bit sharp right here, so I can just... And it didn't throw out these strings, which sometimes happens when you use drop tunings on this end of the guitar. So like the release of tension down here on the strings will cause these strings to kind of go sharp or flat, because the guitar is built to move and to breathe with the weather. So that's just one of the facts of, unless you're using like a carbon fiber guitar or have like one of those guitars with like the exact tuning type things, it's just a reality no matter how expensive your guitar is. Unless it's just completely engineered differently from a standard guitar, that's just the reality. And all that considered, I still find that I still have balance across the strings. I don't feel like it's done anything to warp the body of the guitar, because it's, you know, the guitar is built to handle that kind of thing. So I guess I'm just trying to go through frequently asked questions or things that were concerns for me before I purchased this. Anywhere that I can kind of reduce some friction in between my different personalities of what I'm trying to learn as a musician helps me to get more valuable practice time in. So that's how I use pitch keys. And I don't feel like they're for everybody, because not everyone wants to do alter tunings. But if you do alter tunings, I highly recommend them. I will also say, not paid by the company to say this, I'm just a nerd who has found value from this. A lot of people have asked me about it online and in person. I'm not joking. I went to the chat convention, and every other person who came up to me was like, "Hey, good to see you. What are those?" So anyways, it's very obscure. They're not asking me to say any of this. It's just something that might help somebody. So also, if you play a guitar with a Floyd Rose, Edward Van Halen made a similar product for the Floyd Rose. So I think it's on some of the EVH guitars. I think those are maybe distributed through Fender. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, I believe this product is on some of the EVH guitars, and I've also seen individual installable versions that you can put on your Floyd Rose. So there is an option for like drop D tunings and stuff that you can put on a Floyd Rose bridge, where, you know, there's that whole screw system on a Floyd Rose. It attaches to the back here, and it does the same thing as this, but it does it over there. Like, that would be limited to a Floyd Rose. You could still put this, if you don't have the locking nut, you could put that on there. So I just wanted to mention that option as well, since we're already talking about it. But I hope this was helpful to somebody, and, you know, let me know. Let me know what kind of content you want to see from this channel. And if you're new here, my name is Kirby Jane. I'm a guitarist and a transcriber. I've worked with artists such as Annie McKee, Tommy Manuel, Jerry Douglas, John Knowles, Gareth Pearson. And most of my content is fingerstyle guitar related, guitar transcription related. If that sounds like something you want to follow, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It does really help my channel. All right, thank you all so much.